I was going to ask you this. It's October 7th, right? And obviously this is the 1-year anniversary of the what went down in Israel between Hamas and everything else like that, and it's led to a regional conflict with Israel invading Lebanon and everything else like that. You're an expert in Middle Eastern affairs. You've spent a significant amount of
those
time.
countries.
Yeah, you spent a significant amount of time there. You understand the geopolitical nature and climate over there. What do you think is going to happen next, given the Israeli invasion, Iran sending missiles over? What do you think is going to happen in your prediction?
In warfare, we have something called wargaming. And so if you wargame out this question, which is a great question, and I'm not sure that it's being done to the degree that I would impose on our Department of Defense, but you have an action, a reaction, and a counteraction. So if I say I'm going to do this, what are the reactions that you might do, right? So you go back and forth with these scenarios, right? So your reaction is going to be X, right? It's like it's like we're in football season right now. So I do a down and out, I do a sweep to the right or left, right? So the reaction by the linebackers is to shift, the deep backs is to shift. That's the reaction. And then I have a counteraction where I go and I fake to the right and I go deep to the left.
Good analogy.
So I mean that's war
That's so
gaming.
true, though. That's so
it's so true. So right now, as I war game out what's happening in the Middle East, I gave you that sort of analogy because I want people to understand how I think and how those of us who are in this world of warfare, which I have a master's degree in, both physically because I've experienced it, but also I have a master's degree in it. So anyway. When I war game out what's going to happen in the Middle East, Israel right now is not fighting to win. Israel is fighting to survive. That's a completely different chemistry. It's a completely different mindset. So in order to survive, because they're kind of in this bastion all by themselves, right? They're in this cauldron all by themselves. Iran is clearly at they're the sort of the leader of these various groups, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis. Houthis just fired another missile in the last
today?
In the last 12 hours. They fired another giant missile. I mean, so these are, even though they did some destruction, even though Israel targeted the Houthis. So I think right now what we're looking at is a much bigger war that is going. I mean, if it can get bigger, right? But yes, it can. And I think that we're looking at some type of action by Israel into Iran. They're going to have to do that because the Iranian government is not going to stop, and they're not going to give in. And so they're almost calling them out. So if that's the action by Israel into Iran, then what is the reaction, right? Like the football analogy, what's the reaction of the Iranians back into Israel? Do they launch another 400 or 500 missiles, right? And then what's Israel's counteraction? Because I just said, and I want people to take this one away, this is about survival for Israel and the state of Israel.
That's a really good point that you mentioned, because if you look at their escalations, whether it was the pagers exploding, invading Lebanon, the amount of strikes they've done into Beirut, into Hamas, into Gaza, I guess that's a good way to put it, because they've been escalating at an unprecedented level.
Yeah. So you have that. So the counteraction then could be, the use of even higher end weapon systems. And now we're getting into the world of the word of nuclear, right? And we already have the discussion of nuclear weapons in Eastern Europe. So Russia has recently changed its policy. I don't know what that policy is. I used to know what their policy was, but they've in the last 2 months they've changed their policy. The Secretary General for the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, has talked about the use of nuclear weapons. Biden mentioned the use of nuclear weapons. This is crazy. It's total madness, and it is very, and people start to go, well, they're going to use the use of tactical nuclear weapons. There's no such thing. Now the military guys and you're going to hear political people go, well, it's tactical nukes. Tactical nukes have more devastation than the atomic bombs that we dropped, plural, that we dropped on Japan during World War II to end the fight, at least in the Pacific. So we're in a really very, very dangerous time and it's leading into a very important, the most historically consequential election in our nation's history, because if we don't get this one right, we go down the path of socialism, where we become the United Socialist States of America, America with socialist characteristics instead of the United States of America, which is, what I think all these people out here in the beautiful streets of Miami and elsewhere around this country want to continue to have all these freedoms. We will lose them. We will lose them quickly. And so the wars are, these wars can clearly be ended. They can be ended by really strong leadership that emanates out of the White House. And right now, sorry, but we don't have it. We don't have it in the president. We don't have it in the vice president. We don't have it in the various departments. Our Secretary of State, our Secretary of Defense. I mean, when I see them operating around the world, I'm like, oh my God, it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing because we need calm, measured, smart, and then shrewd and savvy. I mean, it's like playing cards. I said early on in this interview that I grew up in the boys' club system, right? And you would go there. I'd go there with like nothing in my pocket, and I'd walk out with $5. And this is back in like the late 60s and early 70s as a kid, because I get dropped off, or I'd walk there after school, So, you learn to play cards, right? You learn how to do different things. I learned how to play chess. I learned how to play games, play pool, right? And I didn't like to lose. So right now, it's not about...
Do you think we're closer to World War III than we've ever been?
We are in World War III. Okay, we are in World War III because the components of warfare are not always these things that you see on TV, right? Like these war movies, these war flicks, right? It's not like, we're in World War III right now. So we have a war going on domestically in this country, frankly, between the people of this country right now. Yeah. I mean, we talked about fentanyl. We talked about, the drug cartels. We talked about Chinese influence in not only the drug trade, but also the political behavior of our country. We've talked about the physical wars that we are clearly involved in the Middle East. We are clearly involved in Europe. We're providing them not only hundreds of billions of dollars, both places, both those locations, but all
Israel
kinds
and
of
Ukraine,
all kinds of weapon systems. Hell, we're paying, the American taxpayer is paying for the entire war in the Middle East. We're giving billions of dollars to Iran. Iran is taking that money, giving it to Hezbollah, giving it to Hamas, giving it to the Houthis. And then we're also giving money to Israel.
Because we unfroze their billions, didn't we? Biden unfroze their money.
We unfroze them. We gave them tons of money. So, for your audience and the American people, I mean, this is why we've got to stop this incompetence, and frankly, this behavior in our current leadership. And I'm not just talking about who's in the White House. I mean, this is the whole of government, right? This is these are Republicans, Democrats. These are the people that are running our country right now. They're running it into the ground. The fact of life, folks, is that in the history of the world, there are what they call empires, right? Go back to the Byzantine Empire, the Roman Empire, the British Empire, the Ottoman Empire.
I have a hypothetical for you after.
Yeah. So the fact of life is that all empires at some point in time collapse. And, and I hope and I pray that we are not at the end of our thread here.
Today's sponsor is Be Naked. After 30, your testosterone drops by 2% every year. Yeah, that's right. While you're out here scrolling TikTok, your masculinity is packing his bags. But you don't have to be that guy. Step up with Naked Organs. This ain't no soy boy supplement. This is straight up 100% bison organs, liver, kidney, heart. The stuff men have been using for centuries to stay sharp, strong, and keep their testosterone sky high. Forget your vegan pea protein, quinoa, or whatever weak sauce they're pushing. This is Primal Power, packed with B12, iron, and zinc. Real nutrients that your body needs to stay jacked and ready to dominate. Go to BeNaked.com, use code FRESH, and get 15% off. Keep your masculinity in check, guys. Code word FRESH. BeNaked.com, use code FRESH for 15% off.
Support them, support us.